Nerdrotic.com.
You know, it's times like this, it would really be nice to have some good old-fashioned escapism. Now, you don't want to escape the troubles of the world and your obligations for too long, but an hour a day isn't too much to ask. Unfortunately, the BBC and Hollywood have decided to take that away from us, so allow me to give you an alternative. Let's bitch about Doctor Who a little bit. Now, before I get started, if you like what I do here and you enjoy independent content, please consider subscribing to the channel and liking and sharing the videos. It really does help. And I thank you all who have decided to subscribe, and I thank you for your continued support. Now let's go to the Radio Times, which does seem to be the only press outlet that is defending this show. I've noticed that nobody else is. I haven't seen the Mary Sues or the IO9s running out and defending this. Not even Digital Spy. They tried a little bit a couple of weeks ago, but it's been pretty weak. And we also have to consider that it's pretty obvious that they brought this show down due to agenda. Even the people who agree with it are having a hard time arguing against that. I did go over this article yesterday in a live stream, and you can check it out below, but this is for those of you who didn't catch it. By the way, all of my live streams are on Nerdrotic Live. Please subscribe. Radio Times. Do lower ratings spell trouble for Doctor Who, or is the future still bright? Well, I already have a problem with this article, and it's at the end of this headline. Or is the future still bright? That would be assuming it was ever bright in the first place. You guys are now acknowledging within this article, and we'll get to that, that first episode of Series 11 was an anomaly. It was a gimmick. It was curiosity, and that's it.
But so it didn't feel like a responsibility. It felt like something to be celebrated, and I'm really glad to be able to do that. I just think what this can't be is a moment that will be irksome.
Yeah. You know what's irksome, Jody? Changing a character that people have loved of both sexes, of all genders, of all sizes, of all shapes, for a gimmick, for a political partisan agenda. And I'm hoping you're actually feeling that a little bit right now. Times it by 1,000, and you might know how the Doctor Who fans feel right now. Jodie Whittaker's latest series has recorded a decline in viewing figures, but fans shouldn't be worried about what's next for Jodie Whittaker's Doctor. Considering there's not many fans left for this show, there's not many people that worried. And I think even the fans of this show at this point have to recognize it's not long for this world if it continues this direction. I don't think it's that long for this world anyway, unless it completely changes its direction, which we know they won't do. So, nobody will have to worry about anything much longer. The ratings for Doctor Who's latest series are in, and for any Who fan, they make for a slightly sobering read. Figures for the BBC sci-fi drama are down generally from the last series. No, down significantly. And with 7-day figures now included, the series finale, The Timeless Children, attracted 4.69 million, down considerably, that's a proper word right there, from the 6.48 million consolidated who watched the 2018 finale. Isn't it funny how the tables have turned? A couple of years ago, when we were dealing with Series 11, the ratings were constantly shoved in our face, especially the ratings for that first episode. But now we're seeing them try to work it out in their head that this will somehow turn around. It would take a miracle of monumental proportions, something Chris Chibnall is not capable of, to turn this show around, and everybody knows it. But that's not going to stop the Radio Times, because they need the BBC. In fact, while The Timeless Children's 3.78 million overnight figures were higher than many other episodes in recent years, the 4.69 million 7-day rating is actually surprisingly the lowest 7-day viewing figure the series has had since Doctor Who was revived in 2005. For comparison, 2017's The Doctor Falls had a 3.75 million overnight, but a 5.6 million 7-day rating. I have to admit, I'm enjoying watching Hugh Fullerton here work out what many of us have known for a couple of years. So what is the story behind the lower ratings, and do they actually mean Doctor Who is in danger of being taken off TV anytime soon? Well, the truth is complicated. Actually, it isn't. It's quite simple, but let's follow Radio Times logic. Let's watch this practice in mental gymnastics. It's obviously undeniable that the ratings are down this series compared to Jodie Whittaker's first adventures. No, the only adventure was us getting through an episode, which attracted a huge number of viewers. Just the first couple, then it dipped out after Rosa and of course the Arachnids in the UK. However, it was worth noting that these ratings were themselves a big step up from Peter Capaldi's final series in 2017. Wrong. Please refer to my friend Az from Heels vs. Babyface. I will link 2 videos of his in the description where he explains that is Boulder Dash. That is, as you say in the UK, bollocks. Again, I went over this in my live stream, so forgive the repeated information if you saw that, but we will go over why this graph is a lie in a moment. And we're bucking a general downward trend to recent Doctor Who. I'm going to repeat that sentence one more time. You can see the overnights for all 4 most recent series in the handy graph below, created by TV Zone, and we're bucking a general downward trend in recent Doctor Who. No, there is no trend being bucked right here. It is a downward trend, and now we're way past a slight downgrade or a downward trend. We have fallen off the cliff, just like the beautiful and brave first Doctor. Look at how she's falling. She looks so peaceful. There was a lot of intentional and unintentional symbolism in The Timeless Children. Now, the author of this article, Hugh Fullerton, brings up a tweet from TV Zone, who I have never heard of. Ratings. Doctor Who overnight ratings for Series 9, 10, 11, and 12. Note, both Part 1 and Part 2 of the Series 12 finale rated higher than their Series 10 counterparts. Oh, you're bringing up Capaldi again. This is just getting sad. And I'm not going to break down the ratings again, as already did this in a couple of videos which are linked in the description, and I'm going to tell you why it doesn't even matter at this point. Obviously, overnights do not tell the whole story, and we'll get a better look next week with the 7 days. Well, we've gotten that better look, and let's see if they bring it up in the article. Capaldi's Series 10 was in the spring on Saturdays, a tougher slot compared to Whittaker's 2 winter series on a Sunday night. But if this latest series had come right after Series 10, the ratings drop would be significantly less. Noticeably, and in fact, the overnights are generally healthier in the Whittaker era, possibly due to the move to Sunday nights. Possibly, no, definitively due to the move on Sunday nights. Maybe, really, Whittaker's first series was the blip. You think? A big influx of people curious about the new casting of the Doctor. Welcome to reality. And now things are settling down again to about the level you'd expect for a 15-year-old reboot of a nearly 60-year-old TV show. The below chart, created by George Shard, gives a helpful demonstration of the using averages. Here's my updated Doctor Who ratings chart to include the average rating for Series 12. Now let's have some friendly discussions regarding this. Doctor Who isn't dying. This is just a nice visual representation of the show's ratings to refer to if needed. Winky winky. I agree with you, George. Doctor Who is not dying. It's dead. It's not as simple as saying that clearly fans don't like the show anymore and have stopped watching it. Actually, yes, it is. It certainly looks that way when you conflate averages, when you conflate different ratings. They keep flipping back from overnight to consolidated to 7 day, which are all different, and it all doesn't matter. Series 11, Episode 1 has over 10 million viewers. Series 12, Episode 10 has less than 5 million viewers. Argument over. Everything else is just rationalization. And in a landscape when fewer young people than ever are watching BBC shows and audiences are being eaten up by big budget sci-fi dramas on platforms like Netflix, Doctor Who was always going to struggle. There's that defeatist attitude that we keep hearing. It was always going to struggle. You can't satisfy everyone. And I don't believe those are excuses. I believe that is the philosophy of an organization that doesn't need to compete. I've lost count how many times the goalposts have been moved, but here comes the dumbest statement in this entire article. The glory days of David Tennant et al. Were in a different TV landscape. And if the 10th Doctor touched down now, it seems unlikely he'd command anything close to the ratings he did over a decade ago. Actually, if David Tennant was given as many chances as Jodie Whittaker, it would have had Game of Thrones level ratings. In fact, arguably for Doctor Who's latest series to be almost maintaining the ratings set 3 years ago isn't a bad achievement considering what a drop there was between Capaldi's 2015 and 2017 series See Above. That series that aired in spring on a Saturday that had a 1-year break. Then again, the fact that the consolidated ratings are dropping could be a concern, as it goes against the common defense we hear for lower TV ratings as a whole. You mean like not considering Capaldi's consolidated ratings, which were better than Jodie's? Specifically that more people watch on catch-up or on demand, so overnights are an outdated measurement. Which they are, but they are still an indicator. For Doctor Who, the overnights are actually telling a slightly more positive story, which could be interpreted as uncertain viewers no longer being tempted after the fact. That is one way to rationalize it. Alternatively, the fact that the show is on Sunday nights now could suggest that people are less likely to miss the show when it airs compared to when it was on Saturday nights, meaning overnights stay healthy even as viewers depart, with the shortfall more evident in the catch-up, which is exactly where we're at. But what does this actually all mean for Doctor Who? That it's dead. It's not as simple as the ratings are down, so Doctor Who will be canceled. It really is, and the only reason it's not canceled is because it's owned by an organization that doesn't need to compete. As for the publicly funded BBC, there's an interesting question about exactly what ratings are for beyond bragging rights. Ratings are just bragging rights. This is amazing. Obviously, they need to make TV that people want to watch, but which people? Then the writer of this article compares it to BBC dramas, leaving out other TV shows, leaving out the fact that Countryfile got better ratings than the finale of Doctor Who that finally gave the Doctor a quote-unquote origin story. Again, it should have been the most watched episode in Doctor Who history, but it just happened to be one of the lowest. Now they're going to get into something I may know a thing or two about: merchandising. More practically, as Wenger has pointed out, Doctor Who's funding comes from other sources beyond the BBC alone. For example, the commercial arm, BBC Studios, and compared to most other shows, it has a dedicated fan base, had a dedicated fan base, keen to buy DVDs and merchandise and attend events. Not so much anymore. From these avenues, Doctor Who as a show offers opportunities other BBC series with bigger ratings don't. At the time of writing, you can't buy a DS Steve Arnott action figure, no matter how many millions tune into Line of Duty every week. By the way, if they made a DS Steve Arnott action figure, I don't even know who that person is, he would sell better than Jodie Whittaker action figures. Doctor Who fans are engaged in a way few other shows are, so it's not as simple as saying there are fewer of them watching, so the series should be canceled. Yes, it is. The goalposts are not done moving. These days, people like to say ratings don't matter, and in a lot of ways, they don't. While some shows do still command big audiences, for the most part, our viewing is fragmented and split across multiple channels and platforms, while TV also competes for our attention with the attractions of the internet. The power of overnight ratings has diminished, and there are other ways to judge a show as a quote-unquote success, particularly on the non-advertising based BBC. Well, we'll see how much longer it's non-advertising based. It'll at least be a subscription service someday, and I'm guessing they're probably going to have to put ads on it because there won't be enough people subscribing. With that being said, though, ratings do tend to start to matter if the show is doing well in them. This thing is a roller coaster. For example, in the first female Doctor played by Jodie Whittaker's first series, when the big leap in viewers was well publicized by the BBC, and the bad PR of making a show that fewer and fewer people are watching is the flip side of that, even if you're not losing money on the show itself. And they are. But I don't think this is the case for Doctor Who, and in my opinion, it seems unlikely that this dip in ratings is any way close to the end for the series. Maybe in a few years. If the trend continues, we'll be having a different conversation. but for now, Doctor Who is still in pretty good health, even if it's not the top show on the BBC in terms of eyeballs on screen. Ay, ay, ay. There's at least one more series on the way, and I'd be very surprised if there weren't more after that. Well, that all depends on HBO Max. If nothing else, it's hard to think of any sort of replacement that would still bring in millions of viewers, attract young audiences, and create a whole world of commercial opportunities at a stroke. For a while yet, the Doctor seems safe from extermination.
WTF, Gary? WTF? What the fuck does WTF mean? What the fuck? Oh.
To state the obvious, to sell merchandise for a major franchise, it needs to be popular. People actually need to want to watch it and then go out and buy the toys, t-shirts, tchotchkes, and widgets that are associated with said franchise. Viewers do matter because it's an indicator of how popular your show is, so people can make toys. I know a few people in that industry. I know they are very upset about what's gone on with Doctor Who, and they have been for quite some time. The backlash is not dying down, and it's clear that some in the access media don't want to partake in it, or they recognize that the majority of the Whovians are completely pissed off over this decision. And it's clear that they are coming around to what we have been saying for a couple of years. And maybe instead of coming at YouTubers or people who support them because you're upset about the change of canon, but you can't really work it out in your head because you are a supporter of the first female Doctor played by Jodie Whittaker, maybe you should direct your anger at the creators of this mess. The BBC and Chris Chibnall have taken the Whovians for granted. They have screwed over and betrayed a large portion of their audience, I would say the majority, who have invested thousands of hours and thousands of dollars, and they gave you the middle finger. They also gave the middle finger to Big Finish, Big Chief, Character Options if they're still around, Funko, and anybody else who makes Doctor Who merchandise, because those fans aren't going to buy that stuff anymore because it's associated with this new canon. This is your chance to tell the BBC to screw off. Send in your complaints. Do whatever it takes. Contact HBO Max if you want this to change. There is a slight chance they can undo it, but I highly doubt it, because the BBC would risk pissing off 4 people with blue check marks on Twitter. If you like what you heard, please like, share, and subscribe. If you didn't like what you heard, I thank you for listening this long, and I'll see you in the next video.
Nerdrotic.com. Please subscribe.